Welcome everyone again to Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews. This is Thomas for you today with the all-new Volkswagen Golf R variant. So the R Estate, or the Estate as an R, however you want to put it. Here first a comparison to the hatch, in this case the 3-door version. You see it in comparison to the Estate version, to the variant as a 5-door of course then. So the review to the hatch version we've already done last year. You can check that one in the link in the video description. We just thought it would be nice to see how long the other one actually is. So when you really compare them, it's 31 centimeters that the Estate is longer. And so for about 2,000 euros extra of price, you can now also get the versatile version with a lot of power, 300 horsepower from this 2-liter turbo petrol engine. And we're going today on this review with the exterior, interior, and of course also with our driving experience now with this one. Of course not in hot hatch, but in hot Estate. So let me explain to you why this is an interesting concept and quite new for the Volkswagen brand. Well, there is no GTI for the variant, so the gap in horsepower between the normal versions now and this new top version with 300 horsepower is quite huge. If you think about the other Volkswagen Corporation models, think about Seat, Skoda and also Audi, then there's kind of like a ladder going up now in horsepower and also in prices. So we also have reviews to all these other cars, starting with the Skoda Octavia VRS. All the reviews linked in the video description. But let's just take German prices, 31,000 euros and going with 220 horsepower. And then going further up with the Seat Leon ST Cupra. We review also in the video description 34,000 euros and 265 or 280 horsepower even. And now the Golf R with 300 horsepower, even more, but 43,000 euros entry price in Germany, where the reason for that is, first of all, the Volkswagen brand itself is a little bit more expensive than Skoda and Seat, just generally. And here you already got the DSG, the dual clutch transmission, automatic gearbox included, as well as the all-wheel drive. This is the main difference also to the two others. And then above that, way above that, 58,000 euros, there would be an Audi S4 Avant. But there you already got a bigger engine, 3 liters, and also above 300 horsepower, of course, 333 in fact. But that's even more expensive. So let's for now stay with this car, just that you kind of know where it's placed inside the market. Really interesting concept now, and I think look at this lapis blue color. I really like the color. What about you? I want to hear your comments about that. And now let's take a detailed look first at the exterior. The R version of the Golf variant here, firstly has the typical logo, then we got bigger air intakes, and actually they are true air intakes, not just fake, there's the radiator behind it. Also this whole lower area is huge, and we got the chrome lip here, and I think especially the chrome lip does the job here in the front for this more exclusive design. And if you ask yourself what actually this is the sensor for the ACC, the Adaptive Cruise Control. So this one measures actually the distance, and if you look very closely, you see an Audi logo. Uh-oh. Well, we actually knew before that they share parts.
And by the way, if you take a look at the headlights from above, do you see this detailed comb structure? A very nice detail here inside the headlights.
So let's take a look at the side profile. Really exciting here. First of all, with all the Golf 7, you see these sharp design lines here on the hood, flowing around the side and also here just below the door handles. Then, especially with the R version, we got the R logo here. From serial production, we would have had 18-inch alloys, comes with the Golf R variant. These ones here are optional, even bigger 19-inch alloys. Both fit the car very well, I must say. So you do not have to take these ones because, you know, only some tires remain actually prone to scratches here. You'll also be fine with the 18 one, but you know, 19-inch also looks pretty nice here. Then this matte aluminum style covers for the side mirrors are also here with the Golf R variant. We got the roof rail also in this chrome style fitting to this one. And well, if we continue to the rear, we have the most changes here in the back. Another R logo here in the rear, well, that's nothing special. More special is the lower part with a huge diffuser for a compact estate. You know, it's still that car which is usually known as quite boring. Not in this case, because we got 4 pipes actually here for the exhaust, and we'll also listen to the sound later on. Now it looks quite high here because we are just right on the edge of a hill, but usually this car sits 20 millimeters lower with the suspension than the usual version, and this gives you more this sporty appeal also on the road. And then let's flip the logo to open the trunk of this 4.56 meter long car here. Well, this is usual with the Golf nowadays. Actually, well, quite a nice system. And here, of course, you see the advantage of the E-State version because you have a quite even loading sill. Actually, it's not quite even. I would have actually preferred if it's really, you know, even all the way. You see the small step here. Okay, but then let's look at the cover because this, well, quite a practical cover here, above here. Actually, you can just press it with one finger once and twice, and then it's gone, and then it continues. You see there are actually easy switches here, and then you can load some stuff here, even put a bicycle in it, and you can very easily fix all the stuff. For example, you see here is a hinge. A fixed one here, even in the car color, nice. And then another hinge right here, and we also have that on both sides, so it's very easy also to attach all your stuff. Then also at the other side you can flip the seats, so 1/3, 2/3, and there's also a ski hatch in the middle of it, so if you want to have 2 persons, 2 adults even, in the back on the rear compartment and have a ski hatch right in the front. And then I can also check what's below here. I hope we don't need this one here today. I don't like this one, do you? So let's look what's behind here. And actually we got a replacement wheel in here. Not a real full one, but you see there's even some more space. And well, we don't see it quite often anymore that we have the full replacement wheels in here. Then we also have some storage room left and the right, also a power supply here, 12 volts, so everything that an estate owner really needs. So let's take a look beneath the hood, and actually I like it when it's easy to open because the mechanism is placed right below here. You don't have to search it that long. And well, they say you get a special R cover for the engine. Well, look at it. That's it. I mean, come on, that's a little bit disappointing, isn't it? However, the engine itself is not disappointing. As I said, 2 liters of capacity, and you actually get 300 horsepower from it, and that gives you a boost from 0 to 100 kilometers in 5.1 seconds. So you're not really slower than the hatch version, and actually I'm also looking forward if the driving dynamics are the same in the hatch version. So these are the basic numbers now about the engine. Of course, you can always argue, I mean, 2 liters of capacity, 300 horsepower, I'm not sure. I'm not a fan of downsizing. For example, you've lately also seen the RS3 video, the new Audi. Actually, there we had the 2.5 liter engine. It was a very nice engine. I would have preferred that one over that, but let's see also in the driving review. So far, we'll first take a look at the interior. So everything you see and feel is high quality with Volkswagen. You also see that again at the door handles. Very solid, and also the sound you hear when the door is opening and closing. Well, some of the Volkswagen interiors are rather boring, but this one here, in comparison, is quite spectacular. Actually is based on the Trendline trim level of the Golf variant, and then some more features are set on it. For example, we already got the 2-zone automatic climate control in here, so for driver and co-driver, that one is already included. Then we have these R racing seats, you see with the R logo here. In the basic version of the Golf R variant, they come here with this mix of Alcantara on the outside, the gray area, and fabric on the inside, and I would really go for that one. It's very comfortable and also good in summer times. You don't stick to it, actually, when you're sweating. There are also the full leather seats available, but I would not recommend them. Then the steering wheel, a special R steering wheel, flattened end with the R logo, white contrast stitches on the inside, and as we know from the higher trim levels at the Golf 7, we got these shiny black elements around the steering wheel, and that's also the same scheme here, for example, at the cockpit, just at the gauges here in the front, and also around the middle console. The GPS is always extra in price. Over 1,000 euros in Germany, you always have to pay the extra, as well as for the panoramic roof. Here we do not have the panoramic roof. Then we have more head clearance in the rear compartment, but of course panoramic roof is always a nice feature to have because it lights up the interior. Looking at the lower part, well, these aluminium pedals, they shouldn't be missed in any sports car, and we also got them here from serial production. So what do you think from the first impression here from the interior? We can also take a look at the DSG automatic gearbox lever. The DSG, as I've told you, is also here included in the Golf R variant, together with the all-wheel drive. They call it 4Motion at Volkswagen. You know, everyone calls the all-wheel drive something. BMW X-Drive, Volkswagen 4Motion, Audi Quattro, but you know, they can call it what it is. It's just an all-wheel drive. But the system basically works front plus rear, and so this one also differentiates in comparison to the other models in the corporation, if you think of Skoda or Seat. The inside of the doors, we got some carbon-like inlays here, and we also see an ambient lighting when it's dark. In this case, for example, it is in blue. Storage spaces are at the inside of the doors, also for huge bottles. Then there's one hidden in the armrest, and there's also a flipping box here above for your glasses. You can close that one again, of course, and behind the 4Motion logo there's also another storage space. Finally, we also got a USB stick entry here. See it on the right side. So easily, very good solution. And it goes actually quite far in there, so you can also put your mobile phone or your purse in there in that case. And another small storage space here right below the steering wheel. So let's take a look at the infotainment unit. As were used from the Volkswagen models, all the buttons and the keys are feeling high class, and also the sound it creates when turning them, and just the feedback you actually get when using them. By the way, the seat heating, which is here available in 3 levels, it's also included in the Golf R variant. But for 43,000 euros, you can actually expect that most of the equipment is already included. So this is a look at the GPS. This one is the maximum GPS that is possible. As I said, over 1,000 euros extra in price. Got this proximity sensor that the touchscreen symbols appear when you're near your hand, near the screen. But it's also possible just to use the hotkeys here to see the traffic overview, or switch to the map again, or check the car settings, for example. That's actually also possible. I really like this system, same with Skoda, for example, because it's quite huge. Even when you're a driver, usually it's quite hard to use touch screens as a driver because the symbols are quite small. Here it's actually big enough that I, for example, can pick a new destination or something like that. Also can stream the Bluetooth here, so everything is kind of clear and intuitive. You do not have to learn something. Everyone will immediately get along with this system, and I think that's actually the strength. Radio, or you can go to the phone, and actually connecting a phone is also pretty simple. You just search your phone, and then it's fairly easily connected. For the loudness, actually you can turn it here, or also at the steering wheel. That's possible as well. Not here on the right side, but here on the left side. That's here for louder and more silent. And actually this one here is the control for the automatic cruise control. You just set a speed, and then it keeps distance, and also you can increase the distance or reduce the distance again. And then on the right side here, this one's actually you can control the central screen with that one, for example, for the consumption and so on. Let me just check and just put OK. So now we see it. We also got a lap timer in here. Come on, we are in an E-state. You can just press start, and then you can actually measure your hot lap on the racetrack. That's actually quite a really funny option here for one E-state. But let's just take a look at the other functions. We got the driving data here. For example, we can take a look at the consumption. It wasn't really representative what we have driven here now. So you see the consumption of 19 liters. We were just here riding like 10 kilometers in the mountain now for the last reset. I'm not sure what it will consume, but I think we will land up with 10-11 liters per 100 kilometers. That would be my guess and my experience here from these kind of engines. Then let's switch further. We can here, for example, also activate or deactivate the assistance systems. For example, lane assist, that it keeps in lane or warns you also here. It's not an active system, not that the steering is activated, but you get a warning. Blind spot sensor is that you have this sensor here in the side mirrors, and it flashes up when a car is in proximity and is trying to overtake you, that you want. Let's take another look at the assistance system here again. So let's see, what do we else have? There's also a parking front assist. Is actually that you don't hit something in the front, but we also got a rear view camera. I can show you that as well. So let's set it to the rear gear, and then you see the rear view camera. You got a combined view. On the left side you see the sensors, actually my favorite view, because you can really measure the distance then very well, also with the electronic system. And on the right side you see the rear view camera, quite a good solution actually. And you get along with it very well, because it's also quite huge with the screen, and also the camera is not like flipped down too much. So you can also see what's really behind you and not just what's at the bottom. It's not included with the serial equipment, but I would really recommend to pick this extra. Then below here we got the mode button, and that gives us the driving mode selection. And for example, you see it in the middle now, you got the race mode. Then you're automatically set to S, actually, not the D driving mode. S mode means it's you can actually turn up the RPM higher, so the shifting points are actually later. I want to stay there. But there's also the mode of comfort on just normal. And well, I've made the comparison. It's really more comfortable if you set it like this, and race is really stiffer from the suspension. You really feel the difference. Better for the racetrack, but of course usually you drive in that normal mode because the suspension, although the car sits 20 millimeters lower, is really very comfortable, I must say. And finally, also very interesting for sporty features, this is the ESC button, and you can just press it once, and then there's ESC Sport. Or if you put it on again and then hold it, you can also completely deactivate it. So, press it once for ESC Sport, and press and hold for deactivating it completely. And then we can also have even more fun. But it's of course also more dangerous. So let me sum up the interior. I think it's, well, not too much actually, but I think they got the right sense of having some emotional elements here, but not exaggerating in my opinion. And I really love the seats. They seem to be just right fitting to my body. I got a lot of support here at my knees, and also with a nice Alcantara surface, and also the sides here are actually perfectly fitting for me. I'm not sure, maybe it's just coincidence, but they are like sporty and very comfortable at the same time, and I would really pick them right as they are now, just in this kind of trim level as well, and also not go with the leather. So let's get in the rear compartment. Of course, with Volkswagen we have a door handle here that's also sliding back very slowly, and also got a hinge here for your jacket or something like that. So these details have to fit. Got the seat as I would be driving right now. You know, I'm a rather tall driver, 1.86 meters. Well, the knee space is still okay. I could be driving a little bit more on the front with the seat. That would be actually fine, and it would have a little bit more space. It's of course better here in the variant than in the hatch version. That would be, well, a little bit of a problem here. Then I got a lot of headroom here now because we do not have the panoramic roof here in this case, as I mentioned before. So that really works well. For example, also a nice detail are those reading lights here in the rear. They look pretty much high class. And it's also actually good for rear passengers because these lights do not disturb other drivers or the driver in the front. And you can also activate them or deactivate them, each one singular for right and the left. Then let's just adjust the headrest that I can just lean back. Well, I think it's more comfortable if you sit in a SUV on the rear passenger seat, but there's actually one fact, because the seats are actually kind of like lowered down here in this R seat design, because the same design is kept here on the rear compartment. And just this small step makes it actually quite comfortable here in the rear. So they are not really two single seats, but it comes a little bit closer to it, and that makes you also this kind of cozy and sporty feeling here in the rear compartment. So as for driving the Golf R variant, you do actually feel it to sit 20 millimeters lower. Well, it's a little bit more solid on the ground here, and well, without being too much uncomfortable at the same time. And if you just pick this normal or comfort mode, the suspension really works fine. I think it's a little bit more comfortable than with the Seat Leon ST Coupe. This one is more set on this very sporty side. This one here also has some more class, especially when you're in that comfort or normal mode. However, if I now pick the race mode, let me just check that one now to race, then you already hear the RPM meter goes up. Shifting process happens later from the dual clutch transmission, and also the suspension is stiffer. Look this when some small bumps are on. It's really not comfortable for your everyday driving, but if you want to drive sporty and have very well prepared roads, or maybe even you've seen it now again, or even a racetrack, then this race mode really helps. And yeah, it's just some emotional stuff then. And yeah, let's just see how it behaves here in the corners, pushing the throttle. You immediate reaction from the engine really turns up high with the RPMs. So it's really amazing that we can get that one out of a 2-liter engine. Don't have that every day. But again, I'm also quite skeptical because I'm not sure. Well, the consumption isn't really low with these small engines that have such a high horsepower output. So it's more a thing that's on the paper, that the consumption stays low on the paper, but not in real life. But besides that, I'm quite satisfied with the engine. The sound could be a little bit better, but I mean, come on, it's 2 liters of capacity. Let's now overtake someone here. Whoa. What did I just say? Well, if you hammer the throttle really, then you got that typical DSG sound as well. And also when the shifting process is just underway, some really moan about it and say it's the DSG fart actually when it shifts. I'm not sure. I don't think it really sounds like a fart. I quite like the sound. Let's hear it again. Yeah, actually really nice then. But you still hear that it's kind of a small engine and the RPM is going really high. As for the steering, as we know from the Volkswagen Corporation, we got this progressive steering here, and that really helps you. You see, I can keep both hands at the steering wheel all the time, because the more I steer, the increasingly the commands are also transported to the wheels, and that means I don't need long steering ways. You see, even in 90-degree corners, I don't have to turn the steering wheel 90 degrees, but way less. And that really helps you for sporty driving as well as also in the city for everyday day driving. That's really one of the best features in here. And when you then switch to another sports car that has not this progressive steering, you're rather disappointed actually. So a lot of power, and also due to the all-wheel drive, you do not have this front wheel spin. So if you really hammer the throttle here, you get the immediate feedback from the power output. No slippery wheels at the front, as we have seen maybe from other cars, other powerful cars that have just a front wheel drive. Here, with help from the rear wheels, you can really bring all the power to the ground. So let's test another corner here with the Golf R variant. Good progressive steering. We're also not pushed that far to the outside actually, so the weight isn't increased in comparison to the hatch, at least not that much. But there's still a difference in the agility between the hatch and the Estate. You feel it especially when turning in a corner. Then there's a shorter wheelbase and the hatch is more agile actually. The Estate on the other hand has an advantage. For example, when you're on the motorway, it's more sovereign on the road and better for long trips, I would say. But just this agility when going right, left again, there the hatch still has an advantage. However, also, again, the positive side here of the Estate, if you want to combine this versatility with the sporty driving, that's better possible here, because you got way more space in the back and also more space for adult passengers in the rear compartment. And, well, I mean, for just normal circumstances, if you're not even on the racetrack, then you'll master everything also with the Estate and still have fun while driving sporty. Now we're taking a look at the launch control. This makes it possible to get this 5.1 second acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers, and also to use all of the all-wheel drive and get the exact shifting points and so on. Well, the most important function about that is we kind of have this preload in the RPMs. So when I'm just here in the drive mode, the normal D mode with the DSG selector, and I have the ESC turned on, I can press the brake down, and then when I press the throttle, the car just preloads about 1,500 RPM. So that's not the real launch control. Actually, you do not have to set the race mode as I've shown you earlier. That's actually not necessary. What is necessary? That you put the car to the S, the DSG, and also we have to deactivate the ESC. I've shown you that as well before, when you hold it down for 5 seconds, and then when you get ESC completely off and then to the S mode, then hear the difference also from the exhaust. Goes up to until 4000 RPM, and that's then the launch control. So here again, when the ESC is on and I want to preload, it's not working, 1500 RPM. Then when I hold down the ESC off button for sport, 5 seconds hold, completely off. And now when I try to preload, let's see how it works. So now we're here on the racetrack, small racetrack test. You've seen some pictures already. Unfortunately, it just started to rain, but we still go to that race mode now. But due to the rain, we cannot drive that fast, but it still will be a lot of fun, of course, here on the racetrack. And well, it's actually really in a state you can go on the racetrack. Of course, you cannot expect too much, because I've told you before, the hatch is more sporty actually. And you feel that you have a longer wheelbase here. Still nice sound here now on the racetrack, and really push the throttle very hard. Racetrack and S mode. Right now first testing with ESC activated. Yeah, that was the typical DSG fart you heard there. So the progressive steering also gives me good control here on the racetrack, so I haven't the necessity to steer that much. You see, also in this chicane here now, very easy to steer actually. Also, if you're not used to racing, you can get along with that very well. So, another left corner here now, you see how short actually my steering ways are. Yeah, it's you just feel comfortable in the car, I must say, even if you're on the racetrack, you know. Of course, I'm not exaggerating it too much here in the wet conditions. So now let's try that we put the ESC to sport to give us a little bit more flexibility in the corners then. Because we have the all-wheel drive here, a lot of torque can also be directed to the rear wheels. And that's actually the main advantage also in comparison to the competitors from Seat and Skoda. Yeah, absolutely no wheel spin here in the front, although it's wet conditions and I'm really hammering the throttle. So this is actually the point where the all-wheel drive helps you in the sporty conditions as well. And of course the all-wheel drive can also help you when it's snowy or something like that. I think that is really the main difference, and you already feel that here on the racetrack in comparison to other hot estates where you just have that front wheel drive. So, and then let's try to fully deactivate the ESC. Then I have to be even more careful now, because, well, it is said that it's not like 100% deactivated, that the inner wheel can be a little bit reduced in the torque still when it's, you know, very in extreme situations, but we won't try that out here today. So, but it's getting a little bit more drier now. Let's see, which is what now. Yeah, I felt like got around a little bit faster now in the back, but of course you really feel the difference when you're kind of exaggerating it too much. So actually, when you're usually on the track or also in everyday driving, I would never deactivate the ESC, or if you just want to have a little bit more fun, then go for the ESC Sport. So let me conclude about the Golf R variant. It's not the best as for price-performance ratio if you compare it to the Seat Leon ST Cooper or the Skoda Octavia VRS. If you really want the best price there, then you should rather pick these ones, and they are still very good cars. This one here is the more evolved version, I must say, a little bit classier than the other ones and, well, a little bit less expensive than the Audi, of course, still. However, if you want to go for that one, it's really due to the all-wheel drive. The other one is really sportier and we don't have this classic wheel spin in the front wheels and when you really push the throttle, so that really helps you. Or, of course, also when you're maybe in the Alps region and have a lot of times like snow or so, then also the all-wheel drive is helping you in this case. So I think it's a very good solution if you want to have an exclusive estate, which is very practical at the same time for your everyday driving, but don't want to pay so much money already to go with the premium manufacturers, Audi, BMW or Mercedes, because this car, I mean, it's definitely premium. Look at the exterior, look at the interior, especially with this kind of exclusive seats. I mean, just compare it with all the BMW and Mercedes. Sometimes there aren't so many differences anymore, but the price difference is still kind of huge. So I think this is the right pick if you're kind of in between. Not so much money like for the premium manufacturers, but still want to have some very exclusive stuff. If you're searching more for a price-performance deal, as that Seat or Skoda, or also here, also new from Volkswagen, there's now the GTD for the variant version. That one is right above 30,000 euros as well. You got a 2-liter diesel there with 184 horsepower, as we also get for the other vehicles. Then you don't pay so much, but already got a lot of equipment in here. The R, however, is just way more special with the interior and also the even more horsepower you get. I mean, there's hardly any other estate that has so much power and stays that versatile at the same time. The suspension was still very comfortable, although it sits 20 millimeters lower, so you can't moan about that. And it's even an estate where you can actually go on the racetrack with. So I want to hear your comments to that car, and I hope to see you at the next Autogefühl episode.